Welcome back, everybody. Glad to have you here today on the Cabral Concept. Today's show, we're going to focus on 3 specific anti-inflammatory nutrients that have been clinically proven to improve autoimmune issues, as well as taking ibuprofen or Advil. And we're going to give you an anti-arthritic one as well for pain relief. So whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune-based pain, arthritis, I want to share with you 3 specific foods, herbs that you can easily add in. It's taken from 2 different studies, and they're great clinical studies. I'm going to give you the first one right now, but if you want to check them out, head on over to stephencabral.com/3457. The first one is called the Macara Study, Mikara, and it was done with 4 different groups. It was MCT oil. So basically you can get that from consuming coconut oil because there's caprylic acid in there, which can be easily converted into the liver to ketones, basically inducing, well, it's adding ketones to the body. I don't like to say it induces ketosis because the people in this study weren't in ketosis either. That's a misnomer about this study. People talk about it all the time. Well, getting into ketosis can improve autoimmune issues and pain like rheumatoid arthritis. Well, it actually didn't have anything to do with getting into ketosis. The people weren't on low carb diets. They included 2 things into their diet, and that was MCT oil. I'm going to give you the exact amount in just a moment. And they also included fiber. So they had an MCT group, they had an MCT and fiber group, they had a fiber alone group, and then they had a placebo group. Here's the crazy thing. MCT alone, meaning like putting those ketones into people's bodies, had almost no effect. It was not effective. Fiber had some effect, but not massive. But when they combined the 2 of these, it was very impressive. So there was a significant reduction in rheumatoid arthritis activity. So, this is, I think, really impressive because it didn't just help with the pain. It actually reduced the RA numbers. So here is the overall hypothesis and theory as to why it worked. Fiber improves the gut microbiome. So it boosts short-chain fatty acids, and it also improves mucosal health. So it feeds the good bacteria. Now, if you have bad bacteria, which a lot of people do with rheumatoid arthritis, and if you want, you can prove that to yourself by simply running the bacteria and parasite stool test and or the Candida metabolic and vitamins test, since 90% of all autoimmune issues have some type of leaky gut and gut dysbiosis, which means imbalanced gut bacteria and yeast in the body. This is a great way to be able to balance that. Now, it's a much smarter way to do something. Run the labs if you can. If not, run the CBO protocol and then begin to add in the fiber and the MCTs. All of this is great. And then the adding in the MCTs, like from the coconut oil, let's just call it a tablespoon, we'll get to that in a moment, actually can improve an anti-inflammatory effect. So you can get an anti-inflammatory effect from the caprylic acid inside the coconut oil or MCTs. And then what you do is you feed the gut microbiome fiber, and the fiber then improves the good bacteria, balancing the gut microbiome, decreasing inflammation. So you get a 1-2 punch that was only seen with using both of these together. And again, in a moment, I'll just give you the types of fiber and the dosage to take. But I want to get to study number 2. This was a great one. This is a meta-analysis. So it looked at, and I'm going to share with you this one, it's called Efficacy and Safety of Curcumin and Curcuma longa in Arthritis. So this was actually published in Frontiers in Immunology just a couple years back. It was a meta-analysis of 15 randomized controlled trials. The conditions included rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and other joint disorders, so other inflammatory-based joint disorders. Curcumin reduced joint pain, stiffness, and inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein, CRP. It was comparable in effect to NSAIDs. That means non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like Advil, ibuprofen, aspirin, and others. Here's the amazing thing. It did the same thing as ibuprofen without the side effects. I want to repeat that again. Nature gave us curcumin that if someone has joint pain, they can use it and not get the potential ulcers, kidney damage, and other issues, even heart attacks, from taking ibuprofen, especially on a daily basis. So, curcumin, yes. Ibuprofen on a daily basis, no. And here's the great thing, is that curcumin is getting better and better to deliver. If you add turmeric plus piperine, the pepper, or BioPerine, it's much easier to absorb. If you use I think it's BCM 95 form, it's easier to absorb. So there's lots of great ways to absorb curcumin. And again, I'll give you those in just a moment because I want to pull all these studies together. So curcumin, not just a spice, not just something great in curries and all those different types of things. It is a clinically validated natural anti-inflammatory. We can say that. I'm sure we can't. I'm not allowed to say that, so I have to give you my disclaimer. I can't provide medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis, even though the study right here just literally backs it up. 15 studies across all forms of arthritis. So osteoarthritis is a breakdown in the articular cartilage, which is basically the end of the joints. Think about your two the bones of the lower and upper leg rubbing together, wears down the cartilage on the ends of those, the heads of those, cause osteoarthritis. Okay, what's rheumatoid arthritis? That's an autoimmune issue, breaking down the joints typically in the fingers and small joints of the hand, thumbs, wrist, elbows, and so on. But that's an important one to look at too, because it helps with all inflammatory-based joint issues. So, although I don't recommend just using supplements as green medicine and not finding out the underlying root cause, because again, the underlying root cause of most autoimmune issues are gut-based permeability issues, gut imbalance, high levels of omega-6 to omega-3s, heavy metals, immune imbalances between Th1, Th2, sometimes caused by viruses and others. So there, food sensitivities, there's always a reason why. My recommendation is you run the Big Five. The Big Five will tell you what the underlying root causes are. Blood work will not. Blood work is great to run. I'm not saying that it's not. It diagnoses disease, but it will not tell you the underlying root cause. So you can see the Big Five that we use in our practice. We've been using it for decades now, and you can find that at stephencabral.com/big and then the number 5. That's all. stephencabral.com/big5. You can check out exactly what we do. You don't have to work with us in our practice. You can also work with a local naturopathic doctor or an integrative health practitioner. Many have worked virtually as well. So feel free to work with either or the Equilife team. That is up to you. All right. So I already spoke to you that you don't have to go on a low carb diet. That's not what people did in the study, the first study. And I want to give you the exact dosages now. Okay. So the exact dosages for the MCT oil was 15 grams twice a day. All right, or 30 grams total. So when I look at that, that is 1 level tablespoon of coconut oil twice a day. Or you can buy MCT oil. It's not like you can't buy MCT oil. You can't. It's inexpensive and you can do that. So you just get it organic, and that's clean for an organic coconut oil. It has the caprylic acids, mostly that C8 and C10 MCTs. So those are great to use and very simple. So that's it. You want to get your MCTs, 15 grams twice a day. Now, if you don't have joint pain or rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, you don't need to do this. I don't do this. You don't need to do this. But if you know someone that does, or you do in the future, then you want to pull this out, right? But again, work on the underlying root cause if you can in that gut. All right. The next is you want to get 30 grams a day of fiber. So the fiber is going to come from 7 to 10 servings of fruit and veggies. That's an easy way to get it. Or you can add 2 5-gram dosages, which is again, 2 more tablespoons a day, 1 tablespoon earlier in the day, 1 tablespoon later in the day of psyllium husk fiber, inulin, or another fiber to feed the gut bacteria. In our practice, we typically use psyllium husk fiber. You can see all the products we use, all the labs we use at stephencabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to our private practice over at Equilife. The duration of that study was 8 weeks. So you should see significant results in 8 weeks. So what we always say is like, you don't see results overnight, but you'll see them within 3 to 12 weeks maximum. Okay, so this study, 8 weeks, great. So significant improvements when you add the MCT and fiber together, not so much with MCT alone, and not phenomenal with just fiber alone as well. Okay, so now let's go over that curcumin dosage. It was anywhere between 500 and 1500 milligrams per day. Why all over the map? Well, it's 15 different studies. So just like I've done the studies on ashwagandha before, I can link that up at stephencabral.com/3457. That's where I'll link up today's show notes as well. I can never link to products, but in our practice, we use something called Inflammasoothe. Inflammasoothe is 1,000 milligrams, so it's right in the middle of that study, but it also combines it with the boswellia, which we were talking about before, 100 milligrams called Flex, which decreases inflammation greatly. It includes ginger, tulsi, and a lot of other great products like purple sweet potato extract. So that's Inflammasoothe. We use that in our practice all the time for any inflammatory based condition, and also people training hard. And as people get older, it's part of that advanced renewal system. So that's what we do. The studies ranged anywhere from 4 to 16 weeks. I agree, most products should be used for 12 weeks to give them a fair shot. And most studies used 1,000 milligrams per day, which is again, exactly what we put in Inflammasoothe. The reason we do that is everything we do is based on clinical verification, because we're a functional medicine integrative integrative health practice. So our goal is to get people results, not create nutritional supplement formulas. That's not the goal. The goal is to get people results. So that's it. If you were to add them together, what could you do? You could put a scoop of MCT oil in your morning smoothie with an extra 5 grams of psyllium husk. Okay, that's done. You can do it with dinner, mix in a little bit of psyllium husk and water, and 1 scoop of MCT oil with your dinner. Okay, then that's it. You've taken care of literally that study. And the other one, you could take just the 3 capsules of the Inflammasoothe each day at lunch or 1 at each meal. It's up to you. Or get your favorite curcumin-based product, and you can just dose it between 500 and 1,500 milligrams per day. That's it. And you should be able to get these results. Again, there's no guarantees in life, but this is exactly what the studies showed. These were clinical-based studies. They had good double blinds. They had good placebo-based groups. And it's strong research. But here's the other thing. I wouldn't bring you research that we haven't seen work in clinical practice as well. Because there's one thing to test something on like 22 people and you're like, oh, 22 people didn't get results or did get results. I'm going to go by 2,000 people that we're seeing, minimum in clinical practice on how many do you see? Probably, what is that? Like on a monthly basis, right? So we're seeing a lot of people on a monthly basis. And so I get a lot of data and I want to share that data with you. This does work. It's clinically effective and I'd love you to put it to the test. That's the truth. While, of course, as I always say, working on the underlying root cause. So there's nothing wrong with getting rid of your symptoms while you're fixing your gut health, doing a heavy metal detox, functional medicine detox, using your sauna, getting your steps up. You're doing all the things, right? But while you're getting there, why not get some relief along the way? All right, hopefully this was helpful. I'll link up the studies at stephencabral.com/3457. If you want to check out the Big 5 labs, the Inflammasoothe, psyllium husk fiber, any of those great things, those are all at stephencabral.com/shop. Have an amazing day, everybody. Take care. Let me know if you have any questions. And of course, if the show is helpful, do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.